Hey guys, this is Jason. Just wanted to show you a little update on that video I made yesterday, why I shared it. I wanted to show everybody that, all right, this video is a couple years old. They absolutely had information on this, okay? I don't care what anybody says, whether they want to say it was used to debunk or, discredit, whatever. I really, that's neither here nor there. I wanted to show how it all correlated with the data, okay? Now, this is the only program to date that you can get, that the public can get, I guess, comet paths as well as all the other paths to pop up in real time so you can look around and go to a future date. Basically, this is next September, not this September coming, but next September, as I showed. And this is literally the code that's in the Bible for fucking, it's been there for 2,000 years, okay? So explain something that to me. It's why this object, the 67P, is showing up right where it's supposed to be, right where the dragon was, right where, if you read that chapter, you realize that there's only one object missing from our night sky, and it would be this object coming up from the feet to devour Jupiter, as they said anyways. But yeah, I'm just saying, if the kid wanted to make a video up, he wanted to do this, he wanted to do that, there's something more to that. All right, there's no, I'm not seeing this kid know all this 3 or 4 years ago. All right, you guys think he's a little kid anyways, and voice changer, this, that. It's, yeah, I can understand, but if you're thinking of astronomer releasing something in the first place, why would he use his own voice? Why would he try to record off the computer from the hardware? So there'd be stamps and everything, you could trace that back. So in my opinion, I was just showing that, hey, if this kid was going to make it up, why would he record it on his, why wouldn't he just record it on a screen share program like anybody else would? Why would he shoot it from a cell phone, use a voice changer, cover all the steps, it seems like? But, and not only that, have knowledge of this object right here that you have to literally go through the settings and turn on. I mean, it's just not there. It's not there if you look at it in any other way. But there's, like I said, Mercury, Mars, Venus, the other 9 stars, there's 12. The sun rises, cloaks her, moon at her feet, and Jupiter at her belly, getting ready to come out. And we're missing the dragon that they were talking about, or this object that they were wanting us to see in the sky that morning, specifically from Israel. And there's supposed to be, as well, 2 witnesses and this, that going on. But when you realize that this is in the sky, okay, and you just click, blam, there it is. It's the one missing object, and it comes from none other than Sagittarius. Okay, Comet Inky is coming from that direction as well. So is Lovejoy. Need I say more? I mean, its orbital diagram shows us just what Sitchin, Harrington, everybody else told us. And it lines up with the Nibiru. From Bible code, you essentially can look at it, year 5776, Nibiru, they all come to the same point. And then you look at the cryptogram that they blatantly speak of, and it's right there. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of clear that up. I deleted the video so I didn't have to sit here and answer comments on, this has been debunked, this has been debunked. I understand that it's a YouTube video and it has been put through the scrutiny and whatever. The only thing that really catches my eye about it possibly being faked was when you do the image enhancement, there seems to be some electrical storms that are present that I would say could become from another planet. They could absolutely came from Neptune, but in that same regards, like they had to have knowledge of something that is real, okay, and then go to a great deal to make it seem fake, okay? So when you guys say it's debunked, I feel like you're shooting it down and not giving it credit where it's due, because that, in its own sense, they had, you know, knowledge of something. You know, I'm a believer, and I firmly believe in this, you know. I firmly believe that on September 23rd, between October 5th, we'll be seeing something in the sky that we haven't seen for a long time, something that the people thousands of years ago have been desperately trying to tell us. I believe we're going to see more earthquakes from now until then, okay? Now, when you think about when I started this about 6 months ago, and I said, all right, if this thing's real, if it's coming next year, and when I was talking about 2017, then I said this September, this August, this summer, when we're at the closest point and we're not seeing it behind the sun, like a lot of those fools like to believe that it just follows around the sun all the time. It's impossible, unless it was orbiting at a 365-day rotation just like we are, which we know it's not. And you essentially can just look and debunk and take out any information, but you can realize that, wait, this has to be real. So I made a couple predictions. That way people could call me crazy or whatever, but it's common sense, okay? If we're closest to this object, if it's coming in September 2017, then we will be the closest of it around August, September of this year, okay? Without being able to directly see it with, you know, during the middle of the day or the middle of the night. Maybe during sunrise or sunset, that is a possibility. But I'm getting away from the point here. I made predictions about floods and their locations. I gave, you know, we triangulated went with some Chilean astronomers that believe in this, and they go ahead and told us, you know, around these areas, we'll see trouble, okay? We based it off that knowledge, and I said, okay, we're going to see floods, we're going to see earthquakes, and I didn't just guess like, oh, we're going to have an earthquake in Japan. I said we're going to have an earthquake around Italy, around France, okay? 6 months ago, 5 months ago. We had one during around 6.4 around Italy just maybe last week, okay? I gave Chile as an example, all right? And that, like I said, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out, but when you get 3 out of 3 right, when you're realizing that you make 3 predictions that nobody could really do without an educated guess, and they're all right, it's not something that happens every year. Okay, we're talking a 500-year flood, 1,000-year flood, a 700-year flood. Okay, one of them was in my home state. Okay, when you see this and you realize that it's triangulated across the globe from 3 points, then you realize something is coming, all right? You realize it's a tug of war essentially between the sun and this object right now. As it comes around to the sun favoring side and we get away from it, there'll be a greater tug of war on one side, but it's not going to be between 2 very, very big gravitational pull objects, essentially. Something that is, it's not going to tug of war and rip it in half if they're both pulling on the same side. So I just wanted to go over all that, you know, just give a friendly reminder that, yes, this is YouTube. Yes, you can say what you want, make what you want up, debunk what you want, but I'm not buying it. Just not buying it. I'm a firm believer that these ancient cultures were desperately trying to tell us something, okay? Desperately. And only within the past, I'd say 2 to 3 years, would the public be able to access any of this information because of the algorithms, the computer programs, and just the all-around cost and effort it takes to really study an astronomical object without it becoming consuming of your life, okay? Now, I don't know how many people can go outside and at night and just look up at the star and know what star they're looking at or what planet they're looking at or this and that, but I'm pretty sure that anybody in the northern hemisphere right now can go out. They can see Mars in the night sky. And if they're lucky, when the sun's coming up, setting, they can see Venus right on the bottom of the ecliptic, almost over the hillside, almost right where the sun sets. And if you look really close, you can just see that Mars, at that time of the year, is it's going to be easy to see, we'll say. So we'll be able to follow this, at least parts of this, with our human eye every night. We'll be able to say, there it is, there's this, there's that, and there's this. And you'll be able to look. The sign, this fucking huge cryptogram that's left in the Bible, and I don't care if you're Christian, Jew, Arab, whatever, okay? It doesn't matter. They all believe in the same prophet. They all speak of the same people, and they all are essentially fighting the same fight. I care not where you fall into that, and if you buy into it or what. But the idea is, ancient man had knowledge that's beyond our capabilities, or at least of what we've been taught, okay? There is super evidence of high technology all around us and in the past, and you can just look with these ancient people that disappeared. But these ancient people were desperately trying to tell us something, okay? And I just wanted to kind of go ahead and give you that one more last view. I'll go ahead and put it on the date for you there. As I said, right there it is. And sunrise that day, you'll be able to see this object. You'll be able to see them all in the sky. Because of their arrangement, it doesn't mean they'll appear, one's here, one's there, one's here, one's here, one's here, and then it's all back there. The stars are obviously further back. Jupiter's further back. The comet's further back. Mercury and Venus and Mars are just coming around the sun. I understand that, but from our viewpoint, okay, when you're looking at it, that's what you got to realize. You get, this is the ecliptic. You can just follow the ecliptic and look. There it is. They're all in a line, okay? That's the Virgin. That's what they're telling you about. They gave you a specific sign, a specific date, for a specific reason, and it was missing one object. But it's magic how that appears right where they want it to. The Rosetta mission said to go study this. Everything said to go do this and that. It's a lie, people. It's a lie. It's a way to use your tax dollars. It's a way to get you arguing with me or anybody else and using your energy in a fashion that's not going to help you. It's not going to help us, okay? How do people not understand this? That if we're arguing over our fucking impending doom, where's that getting us, okay? If I'm giving you a warning that's in a fucking book that's 2,000 years old, and you look at it, and you say, nah, well, that's fine, okay? You're trying to live in ignorance, and all I'm trying to do is decode what the hell this vision was, okay? And if you don't want to be a part of that, that's fine. And I'm not really discouraging anybody from saying, debunking or searching the truth, but I want people to understand that I do my own research, and I don't care what other people say is debunked, or they go through and say I'm a camera guy or this and that. Okay, I just take it with a grain of salt, and I look at the info. And when I realize that the info has a complex knowledge and understanding of something, especially the sign from chapter 12, Revelations, then you realize, sorry, people like to pick on me, but then you realize that, wait, this was done 2-3 years ago, and wait, nobody's ever said this before, okay? So you can't go and attack the Nibiru community or the Planet X community saying this has been said. No, it hasn't, okay? I said it one time about 4 or 5 months ago, just when I was talking about the floods and everything else. And look, I mean, it's obvious. It does how many volumes does it need to speak for you? This is the missing object they were talking about. Okay, it goes right down through in a line. Something was supposed to come and appear to be swallowing Jupiter. Okay, well, there's nothing in the sky. Blam, this one appears. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay, it comes from Sagittarius. It correlates with not one or two pieces of knowledge, all of the knowledge we have. Okay, so I just like people to take that into consideration, and I wanted them to see why I uploaded that video. I wanted you to see if you think it's Tyler, this, that, the other. I whatever. Even if he admitted it, I don't care about that. Regardless, okay. There's a reason people spread disinformation, and there's a reason they weave real information into that. Now, anybody that believes in the Anunnaki or our creators, the Nephilim, the fallen ones, however you want to look at it, this object has to do with it. I don't care what anybody says. You could correlate this as a maybe, just maybe, when you realize that they came here on an artificial planetoid, what they called it, called Nibiru, which was the marriage of two tribes, the Ibi and the Uru tribe, essentially. When you look at it, the bird and the dragon tribe, that was what was going on. Then you realize it was a vehicle made out of something else, a planet, essentially. Like Starkiller Base from the new Star Wars, or the Death Star from the old Star Wars. However you want to look at it. And I just need people to really consider just thinking a little bit for themselves instead of worrying about this is fake, that is fake, whatever. I want you to look at the coincidence there. Either way, that if he was saying that stuff 2 years ago and it was fake, then why? Why would he use real data? And why would he use real data that nobody was using yet? You get what I'm saying? I feel like there's something much more to that than meets the eye. And I'm sorry for rambling and ranting today, but I just woke up and I got tired of filling out comments. So I'll go ahead and just make a quick video, delete the other, and I don't have that big of a following anyway, so you guys definitely seen it. So yeah, just understand I took it down because I don't want to sit here and feed the comments. I understand where I got it from. I even, I get that. And I don't want to go through the whole copyright aspect of sharing other people's information or videos. I just want to show you how it correlated with real data, okay? Who gives a hell about the voice changer or even the high quality image enhancements, It's cool, whatever. I don't care about that regardless. I cared that somebody said that the Rosetta missions are not really there to look at what they think is a comet, and I completely agree with that. I've showed you guys documentation where the Voyager and the Pioneer, millions and millions of dollars, were sent out there to look for this planet. And not only that, they commandeered them after they got so close. If you look at the Pioneer anomaly data, this thing got so close to us that it actually started pushing back the satellite backwards while it was being propelled towards it. It actually got nudged backwards by the gravitational effects. So not only do we know about how big it is, we know how big its magnetosphere is and how big its magnetopool is and how far out in front of it an object can be pushed. And I have all that data, and I have it all saved in my my folders here. And if anybody would like to put it into Astrograv, and anybody that knows how to use that properly, we could throw this body into the solar system, right? and let it enter, and we'll see how it would change the known gravitational effects of other planets, okay? Because we could see that when this thing gets close, things aren't going to be where they're supposed to be or where they predicted to be, okay? And that would be the first sign that this thing is really getting ready to affect us in a bad way, okay? Now, if you guys go out at night and the stars look closer, I don't know how else to say it, but the stars look closer, they look bigger, if the planets look bigger, if just everything looks a little bit closer and bigger, I want you guys to take some shots, some photographs, I don't care, whatever it is, take pictures of it, correlate it with a landmark, and give me the direction you're facing, anything you can to give me some data. Say, oh, this is 10 p.m. facing southwest, and that's Mars. Mars is in the middle, this blah, 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 blah is above it, you know, whatever. I just want people to do that because I totally believe that that's what it's going to kind of appear like from our perspective at first, is there's going to be a different looking night sky. I believe that we're going to see things look closer than they appear because essentially there's a huge gravity well pulling on us. And not only that, if there is anything benevolent working in our favor, including the government or anything else, the only way to actually prevent this from doing any damage would be to maybe do a magnetopause reversal like CERN was doing. Like I remember I showed you guys some data about the magnetopause collapse. BP Earthwatch did a really great job on that. But you can go back, and I'm a really good follower of his. Anytime he shares data, I like to look into it because he's a brilliant man. But I was following him on that, and I seen them erase the data. They've never erased data. They've erased it about 4 years apart, though. Okay, there's been 2 anomalies that happened on that data, and they were 4 years apart, and they both show the magnetopause being collapsed, and they both correlate with times that CERN supposedly was running at 6.5 tera electron volts, which is insane. Okay, but we know, those of us that are not naive know that they actually run about 4 or 5 times higher than that. When they say that they are running that high, that is the max they let us know, but it goes much higher than that, and I'm not even going to contemplate on that number with you, but we're going to go ahead and give you this brief understanding that if we can look back in history and see that the Earth's rotation stopped for about 12 hours at some point. You can look and see in the Bible. We can look and see in Chinese astrological record. We can look and see in just Chinese regular record. Okay, just regular records from the Chinese. Okay, that the sun set, rose back up, and then set 12 hours later again that day. I don't know how else to explain that, but you're sharing a plasma field. That is you're essentially, your spin stops because you're inside the bigger plasma field of the other object. You're considered being in its pocket, if you will, and you are spinning with it. Once that plasma field is breached and you're out of that, it doesn't, you go back to your old rotation. You start picking up your old rotation and momentum. But what I really want people to understand is they're trying to confuse us with this, man. And they really are. They're trying to throw us some curveballs. They don't want us to see. It's a gentleman's game, though. Because if they didn't tell us, they didn't warn us, then essentially it wasn't fair. And they're already bending the favors to the odds to their favor, if you will. So why don't we just even it out? Why don't we even the playing field And hey, I'd also like to say, hey, I appreciate all the comments that you left on the video, but I guess I should have put in the description that this was totally an older video made by somebody else. I didn't share the video, and I was just sharing it with you guys, and I didn't care whether or not it was debunked, fake, this, that, or the other. I just wanted to show you that they were using real data. It correlated with mine, and how does the kid know this if he's a non-believer? Okay, how does he know? How does he know we were looking for one object on one specific date to be in one specific place? And how did he know what that object was? Okay, notice how it goes away there. Well, if you look at this in worldwide telescope, solar system scope, you look at it in stellarium, just you name it. I could probably keep on going, and I'm not going to. But if you look at it in any of those, you're not going to see this. Okay? And I understand that people want to know the truth, and they want realism. Well, how do you decipher that? Okay? When you got people that are going all out, trying to just debunk a photograph or a voice, things like that, then there has to be some truth to it. Understand that. Or they would not give a fuck, okay? If I said Barney was committing suicide, you know, on top of the Washington Bridge, whatever, nobody give a shit, okay? So nobody cares about Barney, and there's no truth to what the fuck I just said. Okay, so nobody's going to look that up. Nobody's going to fucking type in Google and see and check or research that. That's all I wanted. And I apologize for it's seeming like I get defensive right now, but I was hoping that people would kind of see the connection and kind of see the magic there than more than not officially. Because everything I show you is, yes, this is fake. Look, it's fake. This is a computer prediction. This is not real. This hasn't happened yet. And we're looking about a year and a month into the future. So what's real about this, right? Not only that, what's known about this? Okay? We're going off of predictions. Base predictions, okay? But also know that, I mean, look how good this program is. You see the sun flare? Look, Steve Olson. I mean, WSO, whatever. But you guys see, look, there's a sun flare. They know it so much that they can put basically a program that makes a sun flare, a sun dot, show up into a program and move that sun flare around. Now that happens with your camera too. It doesn't happen with your camera if you're shooting through a piece of glass, a dirty piece of glass at that, and then you get this dot that doesn't move, and then you get one that will. Okay? That doesn't mean it's not a lens flare. That just means you're getting a reflection off the dirty glass. Okay? I'm just trying to explain a few things for people, but yes, I love the community. I love you guys reaching out to me. I really do enjoy all the comments and feedback, and I appreciate you guys even being kind when you do share it. But understand that I shared that for a reason, and I did see that he had these videos. I seen, I believe ESO shared a video, that the one that I watched prior to sharing this from the camera guy, that just showed how he essentially debunked. But that wasn't the point of me showing it. I was showing that it correlated with data that I get that beforehand. Like, how, just understand that I'm being honest, and I can say that I'm 100% being honest. If I made that prediction with my brain, nobody else's, and my work, essentially, correlating all the data from everywhere I could find this throughout history, and any programs, anything. It's just, like I said, it had to be coming from Sagittarius. I didn't give a shit about anything else. But Sagittarius had to be a part of it, okay? It didn't make sense to me without it. It really didn't. Because when you look at Ophiuchus, or the 13th sign of the zodiac, the dragon, you realize that, hey, wait, that's basically the same thing as Sagittarius, just a little bit different. But it does move through, and astrology is very precise. So you just, essentially, you look at what is on, like, right now it's on Virgo, so same idea. Like, all right, here, let's do it this way. We'll go to my birthday. Wait, going the wrong way. Sorry, guys. Let me look here. Go to my birthday. March, April. I don't know why it's saying 2017. Let me move this. All right, so I got it set. If you can see here, it says April 27th, 1988. All right, if you were to look in a newspaper today, it would tell you that I am a Taurus, okay? And we know that that's way, it couldn't be any more wrong. If you look, here's Taurus, here's Aries, okay? Sun rose through Aries. I am most definitely an Aries. Not even close to being a Taurus. And if you look at the signs of that, what would agree and what traits you could see, I could see some similarities between Taurus, but matching completely to Aries, and that's weird to me. I know a lot of people don't have an understanding of astrology, but very complex math. And yeah, it's all about alignments and energy. And essentially, if you can understand that, wait, electricity flows in a line, and you know, if you can just get the concept of electricity, then you understand astrology. Okay, you're making a circuit, you're making an alignment, and then your energies are derived from that. Okay, every day has a different body that rules over it. That's why essentially they named it, Monday, Moon Day. Think about it. There's that goes throughout the whole week. So yes, we know that there's only 7 days in a week and many more astrological bodies out there, but they're talking about the ones that truly affect us the most, I guess. But yeah, anybody wanted to do that to see their real astrological sign, they just go ahead, click on the year they were born and the date, and to get real accurate, you can wind that time back to like about what, 5-6 a.m. something like that. So you can see where the sun actually rose that day. And look, here's Taurus, and here's Aries. I'm an Aries, most definitely. Okay, just as long as everybody understands that. Yeah, don't always believe what you're told. That's another thing with this lesson, I guess. And learn to read through the lines. So I can say, hell isn't a place that you go if you're not a Christian or any of that. That's not how I see it. It's not. You can't look at the Bible and take literal translations all the time. You have to look at things on a much deeper level. Look at it like a battle plan for the controlling faction for the past 2,000 years if you have to. That's how I look at it. I realize that this is, whether it's any of the Abrahamic religions, they essentially ruled by control, okay? They essentially are what tells the masses what they can and can't believe and what's right and wrong. They're the reason for all the holy wars, all right? Now, I don't care if you're a soldier over there shooting women and children, or you're a crazy motherfucker blowing himself up with a bomb, you're in the same boat, okay? They can paint it as godless terrorism all they want. The godless terrorists versus the free market. I always have this talk with my friends. The free market has never been free, okay? And What do you do if somebody pushes you, spits on you, looks at you wrong? Do you not want to hit them? Do you not want to retaliate? Okay? So you could justify hitting somebody for doing that, or putting somebody in their place for doing that to you. But what if they rape your mom, destroy your land, kill your children and your brothers? What would you do? Would you not hate these people? Would you not stand up and fight? They're not godless terrorists, okay? People need to wake the fuck up and realize that. And second of all, I really, 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 really like it when people can read between the lines and take that information out into their own reality, okay, and understand what's going on, get the bigger picture, okay. That really means a lot to me. So this is the question you got to ask yourself. If I don't follow a religion, if I don't believe in any of this, then why am I here? Okay. And then you got to ask yourself a second question. I do believe in this. I do believe in this. And I do believe in these signs. And then I do believe that these were some kind of, even if it was a form of control, who cares if the cross is a symbol, 2,000-year-old symbol of religious oppression and hatred and things like that. A lot of people took it as something else, but they used it for hope. But in the same sense, you look at the Crusades and you realize that a holy warrior and a murderer were the same thing at the same time. And you look at the libraries in Alexandria where they destroyed the information about things like this, essentially. Then you can realize that I don't believe it, or I do believe it, or whatever. But whatever side you're on, you got to realize there's truth to this, okay? They put a very, very complex cryptogram in the last chapter that has astrological alignments that we would not be able to see. Me and you, the common folk, would not be able to see until the past year or two. Just putting it out there. Like, if not, you're going to pay money. You're going to have a lot of time in it. You're going to have a lot of energy in it. You could not have done this as a normal person. You would have to be like a somewhat, even an amateur astronomer, we'll say, or much more than that. Anytime before this, all right? Even like the year I was born, look at that. Like, that's 5 years after Shimshuk started realizing what was going on. Or not Shimshuk. That's funny. Not Shimshuk. You guys know what I'm talking about. Harrington. But that's about 5 years after the Pioneer Craft and all that. 5 years after the gag order. And anybody that thinks there wasn't a gag order, you can look the stuff up. It's fine. Whatever, that doesn't stop me or you or anybody else talking about it. But it does prohibit agencies from releasing data about it or the truth about it. So whatever, however you want to look at that. I really, really, really like to see this community come together and figure out what the hell we're going to do if this thing does come whizzing by, or if anything. But I really think that it's been a very, very, very eye-opening and educational process for all of us, and I think we need to stick together and stop attacking, stop worrying about, I guess, just the petty things, and start seeing the big picture, all right? Like I said, how the hell did that kid know where 67p was at the time, and how was he making guesses based off of Zachariah Sitchin, Robert Harrington, Velikovsky, the Bible itself? All right, so who wrote the Bible? Yeah, you want to explain that? Debunk that for me then. Explain that. Debunk that. And if you can, explain that if whenever they wrote it, explain how they knew what the sky would look like in the year 2017. Can you explain that to me? And if you can't explain that to me, can you explain any of it? Just give me give me one little glimpse of why I should believe this, because this isn't a recurring alignment. This isn't one object being the same place it was last year on November 1st or whatever you want to look at it. This is what, about 12 complex fucking alignments, if not more. And then as you read through the chapters, you realize that that alignment is insanely accurate, okay? They're talking about Michael, Mars, whatever, how you want to look at it, but they're talking about Mars and Saturn, and Mars going in retrograde around Saturn, they having a battle. And then they talk about the moon turning to blood red and this disappearing. So if you understand that, if we go to, what about October 5th, I believe, there's the sun. Okay, so for only way that you could essentially have a blood red moon, it would have to be like this. So here's the new moon, right? Behind us, shining with the full excess of the sun. Okay, for this to turn red and this to turn black, there has to be something here, right? What do we know? What do we know? We got this, we got this, we got this, we got Virgo. We see it. We see the alignment they're talking about. And this, the October 5th, after the September 23rd. If they're talking about a full moon turning blood red, this has to be it. Okay, so between October 23rd, or September 23rd and October 5th, we got one. I'd give us roughly 11 days in between two signs in the Bible. And guess what? These do not repeat. I went back personally about over 3,600 years just so I could see the 3,600 year rotation mark. I think about 4,000. And I know I've went a couple thousand into the future. This does not appear anymore. This is a one and only alignment the way it is. So however you want to look at that too, right? I personally know, according to me and my programs and my research from right here, that this is a one-time alignment. Never again. So how is, explain that away for me. Explain that. Just tell me. Tell me why. Please, it would be great. I don't have too much else to say today. I do have some other uploads I'll be doing on, the ET history, helping other people understand some of the ancient knowledge that I have and read and correlated for this. But yeah, just been busy, about ready to go out the door to work, and I kind of wanted to share this and hope that people get a better understanding of what I was trying to show them, that whether or not he's trying to spread disinfo, that's beyond me, but I can say that if you are spreading disinformation, that you want to use a good 70%, 80% truth and build about a 20% lie off of that. That way it's believable. People hear it. People get the meat and potatoes and they don't ask any questions. It's like Alex Jones, all right? He'll release information that the public already fucking found. He'll release things that have been leaked out and publicly executed by individuals like myself or other people that want to relate the truth to other people. And once that leak is made, he just goes and gobbles it up and says he released it and said, fuck the government. But when you realize that he doesn't ever really talk about Zionism as much as he should, I guess you could say, when you realize his wife, who his wife is and who he's married to, and David Icke, the same thing, when you realize how they attacked each other and came on each other's shows, and you realize that we have scholars like Gerald Clark and all these brilliant men Zachariah Sitchin, that went over some of the cuneiform clay tablet rollings of the Sumerian people, and they realized that there was an extra planet in the solar system, this, that, and the other. David Icke will call it Saturn. Gerald Clark will call it Nibiru. But if you really look at the data, I don't think it was any of them. I think that it was Tiamat back before the Earth was here, okay? Before the Earth was formed out of the remnants of the crust, explaining why these creatures like had dinosaurs and why we had these huge skeletons. Because, all right, because the gravity was much, much, much larger on Tiamat, because the planet was much, much larger, and the oxygen levels were much higher. Everything was bigger and had to be bigger to sustain there. And that's why the fossil record's here. That's why we have all these mysteries in the fossil record, why we keep digging up all this thing, and we're dating our Earth back further and further and further. It's because we have plate tectonics, man. The crust is made up of chunks of other crusts of other places. So think about that. No matter how much you're digging into an old rock that was from another planet and finding bones from other creatures, that doesn't mean they came from here, okay? They came from that big-ass planet that was right beside us next door that our plate tectonics were made up out of. Because if you have a ball of liquid, just like your lava lamp, once that liquid melts, it's all in one melted liquid form. So once that gets cooled, it cools in one solid liquid form, like a BB, like your lava lamp. That's what anything does in a vacuum, okay? And it's physics. So when you realize that none of these other planets in our solar system or around us have plate tectonics, but ours does, then you realize that it was made together from the remnants of another place. The remnants of the other place are what we're digging in the dirt, finding fossil records and trying to date this place back. But no. Did you ever think that maybe science and the Bible, all these old religions had it right? Both of them had it right? The Enuma Elish, all that, when they're talking about the Earth being like 6,000, 7,000 years old, maybe they were right. Not in the same sense, but maybe they were right. Okay? Think about that. Let it sink in. You know? But, yeah, I really think that just that alone solves so many of the mysteries of the universe. And we need to keep focusing on that. So sorry if the screen just went black there, but I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. You guys have a good evening, and I'll try to upload some more videos. Enjoy.